The death of her daughter actually changed my guest's life for the positive. Stay tuned to find out the whole story.
He's a Florida witch with something to say. Your friendly old sage with a teddy bear face. The Alexian Show. The magic's on its way. He's all set to play, so let's not delay. Welcome to Alexian Show.
Merry meet, everyone. I'm Alexian, and joining me, as usual, is my co-host, Draken.
Hey.
Hey, buddy. How you doing?
Honestly, I'm exhausted.
Yeah, it's been a crazy month.
It has. I sat in the hospital for 5 days with my husband for what turned out to be a pretty benign issue, but it came on emergently. But he's had a surgery. He's good to go. At this point, it's just trying to keep him from lifting more than 15 pounds.
And we know how that can be.
Yeah, he's a Leo, so he's a little stubborn.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, I have a Pisces husband, and it's just as bad. He is very stubborn.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Hey, show 14. Can you believe it?
No,
time is flying.
I can't believe we're more than a year. That's still trying to wrap my head around that.
As I get older, time flies faster. And I think everybody experiences that. It's bizarre. I have a suggestion for our viewers. If you don't have time to watch right now, why not listen on your drive to work or even while you're taking a shower? It's a great way to fit our show into your day. I actually listen to a lot of books and podcasts in the shower. It's my learning capsule now.
Mine is always on the way to and from work.
Yep. Yeah. In the car. Well, my commute is 10 seconds, so that doesn't work for me.
Right.
I work at home. So as usual, I also have some analytics to share, and your socks are going to blow off. It's amazing. As of last night, we have now another over 3,000 plus new subscribers in the last month.
In a month?
In a month. I checked it. Wow. I couldn't believe my eyes. Last month, I announced that we had just passed 11,000. And we have now passed officially 14,000 subscribers.
That is amazing.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
3,000 in 1 month. And I think I know why, because listen to this. This time, something unexpected happened. And I have a theory. The number one spot that watched our show, now this is not subscribers, this is watching views, is India.
Wow.
India. Who knew? Yeah. Who knew? Namaste, India. Namaste. Thank you so much for watching. And coming in second is the USA. Thank you, everyone. And coming in third place, holding strong, is the UK. Right? So no matter where you're tuning in from, we love you all. Now, I have a theory. Do you have a theory before I state my theory?
No, I have no theory.
Okay. My theory is because we had Sandy Starr on last month and she was in the movie Passenger 57 with me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think we found some Passenger 57 lovers from India or something of that movie, maybe.
Yeah.
And it attracted extra people. So who knows? I have no idea what happened, but the algorithm clicked in India and off we went. So in any event, Draken and I want to know where you're tuning in live from right now. Yes. So share in the YouTube comments and also hit that live button by the volume control to stay in real time with us, because you want to stay to the end for a chance to win today's awesome giveaways. And if you're tuning in late, you might miss the drawing, right?
Yeah, it happens.
So, yeah. Yeah, we are going to do something a little different today, but I'll get to that in a minute. But we are so thankful for all our reviewers, because without you guys and showing of your love and support, this show would not be possible. So besides the hospital, what have you been up to, Draken?
I mean, honestly, work. You know, we've had a little bit of a turnover. It needed to happen. You know, sometimes when you burn off the dross, things get better, but it can cause a little bit extra, you know, things to be done in the meantime. So that's kind of just been it's been my focus. Like, I'm working at work, I'm working at home. And then outside of that, I've just been like working on cleaning out my room. It's time for a spring clean, dusting,
Always feels good.
yeah. You know, I'm gonna work on my altars today, but like, I've worked on all of my elemental shelving and whatnot, and so that's kind of been my focus today. This is my downtime thing to do, even though
Excellent.
it's still cleaning.
You know, cleaning can be therapeutic. So
It is. It absolutely is, and there's
knock
something
yourself
about
out.
yeah.
Out with
And
the
I've
old,
actually heard from
in with the new.
professionals that it is hard to be relaxed and happy in a chaotic environment.
It's very true.
Yeah. So even if you can't get your house completely clean, being able to like kind of clean things up in a way that it's not like just stuff everywhere, it's good for your soul.
Feng shui
Yes.
is the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, yes. We're constantly working on that. We've accelerated that a bit ourselves now. So
yeah.
I had a birthday on Friday.
Yes, you did. Happy
Thank
birthday.
you,
What is
thank
it,
you.
number 28?
Yeah, 28. As my husband says, 29 plus plus plus.
Yeah, 29 and holding.
29 and holding. No, I actually turned 59. I don't
Mhm.
feel 59. I don't
No.
act 59. I know that's for sure.
Yeah,
So, you know, it's just a number. It's just a number.
it really
So
is.
I think I'm very happy at 59. So that's a good place to be. But I am throwing myself heavily into my music, which I talked about a little in the last show. I won't talk about it so much this time. But if anybody's watching and would like to know more about my original pagan songs and chants, you need to get on my email list, which I call Purr. I also give away a lot of free content on my email list, including free songs, free MP3s, magical recipes, food recipes. Some of those recipes are like, coveted recipes, like my brownie recipe. People rant over my brownie recipe. And some of Victor's recipes. I don't need to say more about that if you know Victor. Many magical courses and meditations are also included for free. Mm-hmm. And I also tell some crazy, true to life paranormal stories that has happened to me from my own life, for real. Yeah. So, I'm supposed to show a slide. I'm like just talking away. Let me show the slide. So all you need to do is go to my website at alexianmusic.com and click on Purr, that little box in the top right corner. It says Get Purr. And Purr is the name of my newsletter because, you see, I'm a priest of Bast, the Egyptian cat goddess. And so why not?
Why not?
Right? I named it Purr. So there you go. So get on my list. You'll find out all about me and my music. Okay, remember, this is an interactive show with questions and answers, and Draken will be in the YouTube comments, so don't be shy. Ask your questions, chime in, share your thoughts. We can even share them on the screen. But before we bring on our guests, I actually want to congratulate Sandra from Alabama, who won our March Arcane Treasures giveaway, which was also our first anniversary special. And in those winnings, she also won one of 3 unique Alexian Show tumblers. I know it's like, it's worth $1 billion right there, right? There's only 3, right? Draken has one, I have one, and now Sandra has the 3rd one. So congrats to Draken. You got to have fun with it. You got to have fun with it, right?
Yeah.
All right. Tamara Ambroz is our guest today. But if you want to be a guest on our show or know somebody that would be perfect, please tell them to visit alexianmusic.com/guest to apply. It's that easy. So how is that chat going, Draken?
Well, hang on. I got too many things going on here. Hold on. So we have got, of course, Sandra's here. She's from Alabama.
Awesome. Hey, Sandra.
Alabama. And Natasha is watching from Temple Hills, Maryland, which I tell you, next time I go out to Maryland to see my kids, we need to like have coffee together or something.
Oh,
and then we've got Becca here, but I don't know where she's from. But those are the people that have been in the chat so far.
Wonderful. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Yeah.
All right. Again, don't forget to click that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell, because I've heard tell that each of those actions brings you closer to winning the Arcane Treasures giveaway at the end of the show. And while you're at it, be a helper and share the show with your like-minded friends on your show socials and email. You know, help us spread the word. We're trying to get the word out. Okay, enough of all of that.
Becca is from Missouri.
Oh, that must be Becca. I think that's Sandra's daughter, Becca. Yes.
Oh, okay,
from
okay.
Missouri.
Yeah, that makes
Welcome,
sense.
Becca.
Hi,
awesome,
Becca.
Awesome. Okay, enough of all of that intro biz. Let's bring on our guests.
Hold on to your seat for magical moments.
Up to up, bibbidi do up.
Okay, I am thrilled to welcome to the show the extraordinary Tamara Ambroz, a self-proclaimed messy human. Tamara is a psychic medium, medical intuitive, and clinical herbalist who has alchemized her own journey through adversity into a mission of healing and empowerment. She has an amazing story, guys, an amazing story. As the owner of the Enchanted Herb Shop in Galena, Illinois, she offers not only spiritual and medical mediumship, but also sustainable, ethically sourced herbs. Very important. Sacred tools for divination and magical workshops. Tamara's deep compassion, reverence, and connection to spirit helps her guide others towards clarity, healing, and a gentler, healthier life. Prepare to be inspired by her wisdom and the magic she brings to the world. Please, everyone, welcome Tamara Ambroz.
Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. I feel that in my heart. I feel so appreciated. Thank you so much.
Well, I'm happy to have you. Your story is so amazing. I can't wait to dig into it. But let's start with talking about your store. So you own the Enchanted Herb Shop, but it's also a metaphysical store, right?
Yeah.
When working in the spiritual and metaphysical world, sometimes you can get the most interesting questions or requests. Have you had any of those?
Well, almost on the daily, someone's coming in here and expecting that I can like exercise some demons that they have or take care of attachments. And I'm like, hun, that's called boundaries. But it happens a lot. That's really happens so often. I get a lot of different weird sort of questions, and people come in and they want to have really interesting conversations. And if you've ever worked at a metaphysical shop, you know that this is true, that it becomes the hub of strange conversations. It becomes a hub where you can come in and you can just get your weird on, right? You can just come in here and be who you are. And that's one of the parts that I love about the shop. It creates a community of weird folk. So yeah, it's a great place to be if you want to just feel into who you really are and be comfortable in that.
Metaphysical stores, herb shops, they really are a hub of networking and community, you know. and you meet people, you find out information, you network, and you become friends with people through these shops. And before the internet, it was
Mhm.
like the only
Mhm.
place you could go to meet people was to
Yeah.
find the stores and then network and meet people and become friends with them there. And I truly believe that still happens. Community is strengthened and revered through those places of meetup.
Mhm. Yeah. And I think that, the thing is, people come in here and they feel so isolated because they don't know anyone else to talk about this kind of stuff with.
Yeah,
They try to have conversations, people's eyes gloss over, they get kind of that look like, I don't want to go there with you. And so they feel isolated in this journey. And, our pagan faith, it stretches back thousands of years. We've always been connected to spirit, to the earth, and to be able to express that freely is such a needed thing. And so, yes, we've had these metaphysical stores going way back where people can come in and they can talk about that and not be put down and not be getting the glossy-eyed stared back. So it's nice to have that available in my community. We do have a few other stores around. I'm the only one that connects my herbalism in with it. And it's funny because when I actually opened my shop, it was just going to be herbalism and spirit. My
yeah,
team kept saying to me, "Oh, you need to add this, you need to add that." And I'm like, "Well, I don't feel comfortable with that because then people won't take me serious as an herbalist." And they were just like, "Oh, you silly girl. These things have went together for thousands of years."
that's right.
And so that's really how it all came together. Like those two things came together, but they've been together forever. And so I bring in those people who are attracted to the herbal path, and then I bring in those people who are attracted to the pagan path. And it's a good combo.
And they learn from each other.
They do. They do. They cross over.
Yes.
They.
It's always so, it's almost sad, in fact. A lot of people I meet when they first network with my group, I'm the as high priest, I go out and I meet with them for lunch for their first meeting, make sure that they're uh,
Hmm.
not an axe murderer or something,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
and and a lot of people, even though they're meeting me for lunch to talk about this stuff, they're still hesitant to open up, and I have to ensure them. I'm like, you're normal. It's okay.
Hmm.
You can talk to me. This stuff is not uh, disturbing to me, right? You're free to talk openly with me.
Yeah.
And then finally, I feel that exhale, and then
Uh-huh.
they open, and then they get very talkative, and it's like, they get really excited. And I love
Yeah.
that. I love it when the people open up.
Yeah, they always kind of start with me by saying, "Can I ask you a really weird question?" I'm like, "There are no you wouldn't be, able to ask me the weirdest question I've ever heard, no
Yeah.
matter what. So just go for it."
Weird
And
or stupid question. And I always say there is no stupid question. The only stupid question there is the one that's never asked.
right, right. And this
Yeah,
is a safe space for that. So,
absolutely.
these kinds of spaces are where we can talk about these things. Yeah.
So you are here under Magical Moments. So we are going to dig into some interesting, almost like, spirit, paranormal type of events. Tell us about the story of your customer and the book levitating itself.
Wow. So, yeah, when I first opened the shop, all kinds of strange things were happening. And just like, oh, you'd think that they were random coincidences, right? But they happen over and over and over again. And in my first couple of months, this lady comes in and she says to me, I have this daughter. I'm here actually for her. I'm looking for maybe like a book. And I said, "Oh, my library, it's around this corner here. And then there's a book there that I think would be great for you." And I kind of told her the title of it, but she went back there and she couldn't find it. And she was looking on the shelf. The store was full of people. She's looking on the shelf, and all of a sudden, I hear everybody exclaim. They're like, "Oh my God." And I'm like, "What? What happened?" Like thinking something fell and broke. And she's like, oh my God, this book just fell out of the shelf into my hands right now. And it opened up to this page, and she's like, oh my gosh, you're not going to believe this. It opened up to the page, and my daughter's name is right in the middle of this page. And
Wow.
everyone in the shop was just like lit up, the goosebumps, the excitement. We were all just so stunned like that happened right in that moment. And it's funny because I just moved my shop. That shop was kind of like off the way. I didn't have a lot of foot traffic. So I moved where there's more foot traffic. And on my first week, the lady came in and I didn't quite remember her. And she goes, do you remember me? I came in, and she told me that story again. And I was just like, I do remember that because, things like that are just they're so like thrilling to have that happen. It's
It's
just
thrilling,
such
but it's a blessing.
validation. It's validation too.
Yeah.
It's like, yes,
Yeah.
spirit exists and they are here with us, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You also had a story about a broom?
Oh my gosh, yes. So this one time, I am a skeptical person. Let me tell you, my brain, it's like an engineer brain, and I have to be proven things over and over again. And in fact, my spirit team, they always tell me, like, if you would just believe us, we wouldn't have to work so hard, like, just believe us. But one time I was at home alone, and that day when you like stand your broom up and it's supposed to stand on its own. Well, my kid was like, we got to do this broom thing. And so I'm rolling my eyeballs like, oh yeah, let's do the broom thing and that TikTok thing. And so we stand the broom up and it doesn't, it falls over. It falls over. And I'm like, okay, whatever. That was interesting. A couple days later, I'm standing in my hallway and I can see into my bathroom, and that broom is laying on the counter, and it's laying on the counter like this. And I'm just standing there looking at it. And you get that sense. When you're a spiritual person, you get that sense. And so I'm watching,
Yes.
all of a sudden it goes, and I started busting up laughing. I was laughing so hard and I said, thank you. Thank you. This is awesome. And then all of a sudden it goes back onto the counter. I just thought it was the coolest thing. And what's
Yeah,
funny is that some people, when they see things like that, they automatically think that there's some evil afoot and they're haunted. And I just think it's great. I enjoy it. I think it's such great, like, it's such great energy to have spirit say, hey, look, we're here and watch this funny thing, right? I
it
don't
is.
think they're trying to scare us.
No, no, not at all. In all of my years, I've only had like two things be negative, and everything else has just been positive. We
Yeah.
actually have a ghost that comes and goes from our house, and we finally figured out that he's attached to the land
Mm.
because
Hmm.
I had a new neighbor move in next door, and like the first couple of days she was here, she came running over to us, and she's like, "This is going to sound weird,
Right,
but
right.
do you have things move around and bump in your house?" And she was new to the house. And I'm like, "Oh, yes, we need to have coffee."
Yeah, right. Like almost
So, yeah,
daily, but yeah.
yeah, he comes and goes. He comes and goes. I think he's
Hmm.
an old settler guy, and he just loves the area, and he just never
Yeah,
moved on. He's just hanging out, and he
yeah.
loves music. So he's in my house a lot. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So you had
I
a, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, that just it's reminding me of this, like, the house that I bought. It's an old Victorian. We live in a town that's like a historic district. We bought this old Victorian, and this lady that owned it, she was very eccentric. And I found out she was a medium, and she used to do readings in the house with a friend of hers. And for a long time, for about 2 years, I would be out in my yard and I would strongly smell like patchouli, like spiritual sky patchouli perfume, right? And
Mhm.
there's no way that it was anywhere around me because I just don't have patchouli around me. There's no plant that would smell like that. I'm an herbalist. I would know if a plant smelled like that.
Sure.
And so I was asking around, and someone told me, like, oh, I think that smell is the exact perfume that her friend used. And so I would just started talking to her, like, hey, Jay, how's it going? And then all of a sudden the smell went away, but they're connected to place, they like to revisit the place that they felt comfortable in. That,
Hmm.
yeah, so that was a thing too once.
Speaking of scent, I've had experiences with loved ones visiting me after they pass away. But with my parents, the only thing that happened was I smelt my father's cigars,
Mm.
and
Mm-hmm.
I smelt my mother's perfume.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
I
you
was
know, they,
expecting more of a visit, like in my dreams or something,
right.
but it never happened. But I smelt them, both of
You
them.
know, sometimes they want to go the easiest route to you because
Yeah,
they're using energy to go through your sensory
sure.
perception, because it's actually, you're not smelling it with your nose, you're smelling it with
Right,
your like mind's nose, right?
right.
So they're like, okay, the circuitry is there, how can we get this message through the easiest way possible that we are present? Oh, we'll do it through a smell, right? So they use those kinds of tools. They're super freaking smart, like they're just
Yeah.
smart.
Well, they know.
Yeah.
All right. So you had also a funny story about a lady that was experiencing some buzzing.
Oh my God. Oh my gosh. This is so crazy. And she, believe me, okay, I have permission to talk about this, okay?
Okay, that's
She
good.
thinks it's hilarious. I was doing a medical intuitive reading, and when I do these, I kind of scan the body from head to toe. I go from, what's going on in your thoughts and all this stuff. And I go through all the organ systems, and I do check, the sort of organs that would procreate. And so I go down to that region, and all of a sudden within my body, sometimes I feel what's going on with that person, right? I feel like there's a vibrator in there, right? And I'm like, what is going on? And so I said to her, like, okay, I feel like this tingly electric sort of vibrational feeling down, down in your procreation sort of zone. And she busted out laughing. And I'm like, okay, what's going on there? And because I don't really know what this is. Is this a nerve thing? Like, what's going on? And she goes, no, wait, wait, wait. She runs off camera because it was a Zoom call. And she comes back with this box. And she's like, this is what it is, Tamara. The box is a vaginal exerciser. It's a like pelvic floor exerciser. And she had just started using it. So that's what my spirit team brought me, that kind of, I think, as a little bit of a joke. They love me to laugh, they love to bring in a laugh, but also to let me know that her pelvic floor, needed a little bit of work. Just, I mean, come on. Like, really? That was just ridiculous.
Funny things happen. They
Yeah,
absolutely do all the time.
all the
It's not
time.
all serious stuff, but
No.
yeah, yeah. People get messages for what they need. So maybe that was just confirmation for her that she was on the right path,
Right, right. Yeah,
you know.
definitely. Yeah.
So getting a little more serious now, tell me about your guides.
Oh man, my guides. So everyone wants me to tell them how to tap into their guides because I have this like super strong connection with them, but it was not always so. I knew that I had guides, right? Like everyone has guides. I was aware of this. But a few years ago, I think that the first thing that the first inkling was that when a friend of mine was giving me a mediumship reading with my daughter was coming through, there was this blue light with her, right? That was the first little sign. And she didn't know. She goes, I've never felt anything like this. I don't know what it is. Is it a fairy? I don't know what it is. Well, early in my mediumship sort of when I started doing them professionally, this blue sort of looking gargoyle light would be like sitting on a corner or down in the floor. And I'm thinking, oh, this guy's just here to talk to the person that I'm giving mediumship for. So that's kind of how my first guide came in. Well, um, I also started channeling him in some writing, but he came in. And then when I finally started talking to him and I realized this was my guide, I said, like, a blue gargoyle. He goes, I'm not a gargoyle, I'm an ogre. And I'm like, you're an ogre? He goes, yes, I'm a good ogre. And I'm like, I'm a nice ogre. And I'm like, okay, why are you an ogre? And he started telling me about like this story. He was like, I was an ogre because people made me that way. I was living in this country and they didn't let us practice our religion, which was Zoroastrianism. And so they chased us. They took our property. We had to leave the country. And so he started telling me this story, and I'm like, what is this? And I'm looking up, like, what is Zoroastrianism? And, this kind of thing. Then one day I was like, well, what do you actually look like? And he showed me himself, and he looked like Mario or Luigi, with the fuzzy hair and like the big mustache. And I'm like, is that what he looks like? So his confirmation, a friend of mine was giving me a reading, and she goes, I think your guide is here. He looks kind of like, like Super Mario Brothers. And she starts telling me he's got really fuzzy black hair. He's got this big mustache, and he's got a big nose. And I'm like, okay, there's my validation. So he's my main guide. His name is Zador, and he used to be a physician in the life that we shared together. And he let me know that I was actually his grandson during that life that he was describing.
There it
So we
is.
were both physicians in that life. And at that time, I was really hesitant about moving into medical intuition. It's a big responsibility, right? I didn't want to ever hurt anyone. I didn't want that responsibility of being that close to their wellness that way. And so he started bringing in other people, but my daughter was also present. And I'm like, what is this? Well, it turns out she is also one of my main guides. She actually is very present. And then he brought in another guide who was like a lady who felt like a sister. She'd sit and have coffee with me. She would talk to me about sisterhood sort of things. And then they also brought in another guy, but that one was kind of funny because he just told me, you're going to be meeting another guide. And he didn't tell me how he didn't bring that guide in. I was having a readings during a weekend, and this lady with like a bun, she had like a gray bun, and she kept coming in and she was telling me things, and I was describing to my sitter, hey, there's this lady, she's got a gray bun, she kind of has like an Irish accent, and she's doing this and that. And they're like, I have no idea who that is. And finally I was like, who are you? And she goes, I'm here for you, I'm directing traffic. And I was like, you're directing traffic? Okay, now I have like a traffic director. And so she came in, and she's more about like the function of my life, the procedures that I have in place, the structure of my life, having my life be more efficient. And she brings that energy to my reader and my sitters too. Like if they need that kind of help, she's the one that brings that in for them. So those are the guides that I work with. They all have different sort of focuses when they have their conversations with me. We do actually have clairaudient conversations. I hear them. It used to be more symbols and visual, and they wanted me to hear them, so they had me work on that really hard. And that's who they are. That's my team as it stands now. Super helpful to my life and to other people's lives.
Wow. Yeah. I've only had a handful of clairaudient experiences. And the first time it happened, it scared the hell out of me because it was like 1,000 voices talking all at the same time and rushing across the room at one ear. And I screamed and jumped across the bed because I was very tired and we were going to bed. And then I've had other ones that have been just a very solid, clear voice. And I have no idea what it meant, but I opened my mouth and repeated what they said to the person I was doing a tarot reading for. And one of them actually broke down in tears. I mean, I had no idea what I was talking about. And then she let me know. But clairaudience is a little freaky in the beginning because you're like, what is happening? But now I understand it more.
Mhm.
and I've experienced it more, but not as much as you. I've only had like a handful of experiences with that. I see things more,
Mhm.
and feel things more. But my dreams, whoo, I am busy in my dreams. I write music. I have foreshadowing of future events, all sorts of stuff in my dreams. And my mom was like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that I have had dreams like that, but last night I had a dream about a frog that was really smart. Like I don't
Hey,
know. I think maybe
hey,
there's going to be smart frogs in the future.
hey.
Yeah.
Once I did a reading for, well, I don't think she'll have a problem with me saying this, but I did a reading for one of my nieces, and she was talking about love. And I said, you'll know your husband when you see the frog.
Wow. Right. Right.
That's what came through,
Yeah.
right?
Like you don't know
She
why
met
you're
her
telling them.
husband. He was wearing a t-shirt with a frog on it.
Of course
And
he
she married
was.
him, and she's
Like
got 2 kids now.
yeah, see what I mean? Spirit is smart. They know exactly how to bring
Yeah.
you that message. But for some people it's just so subtle. The thing is, people think you've got like the freaking Wizard of Oz in there, like, I am the great wizard, right? And it very rarely actually sounds that way. But my
No.
first experience was kind of that way, where I was doing something that really wasn't good for my body. Like I was working out in the heat and it was super, super hot, and all of a sudden, this was the first time I really like heard my daughter after she passed. I just
Mm.
heard, sit the F down. Go the F inside, sit the F down. There she is, my beautiful daughter, my beautiful grandson. And she just let me know, like, you need to stop. You need to stop what you're doing. I know that you're trying to like release your grief. You're trying to get rid of this, but you need to sit down, and you need to sit down for a long time. And that kind of like started my journey with really developing my spiritual relationship with her. We were super, super close. We were super close in life. She called me her best friend. I had her when I was 19, and so that was the first time I heard that clairaudience sort of voice come in. But it is very subtle most of the time. When spirit communicates with us, it's super subtle. And if you're not in a state of being aware of that energy, most people miss it. Most people miss that stuff. You got to be aware.
Yeah, it's really, you said something earlier and it made me think of something. Everybody has the gifts, some more than others, but it's really about being open to it, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
and asking.
Mm-hmm.
Asking. You have to
Yeah.
ask spirit for an answer before you're going to get an answer. Question comes before answer.
Right.
Right? Rarely is it the other way around. So be open and ask spirit questions. It doesn't matter what religion you are.
Right. One of
You know,
my favorite ways is, a lot of people do this. They are thinking of something that's really perplexing them. They really are struggling with it. They want to get past it, and they keep hearing the same song verse, right? And they don't equate it to, hey, Spirit's trying to give you a message right now. It used to come in like that for me a lot, clairaudience. So that's like an easy way that we feel that clairaudience.
interesting, interesting. I'll have to pay attention to the tunes in my mind from this time forward.
Yeah, I felt like
Yeah.
Ally McBeal for a while because like there was always like that tune in my head, that soundtrack. And I'm like, what is going on? Can this music stop? When I'd realize the message, that song would stop. So yeah.
Well, all of those people that are watching, I want to tell you that Tamara is donating a free 20-minute spirit tarot reading via Zoom for the Arcane Treasures giveaway at the end of the show. And before, we waited to the end of the show before you could enter, but we're going to try something a little different today by sharing the giveaway entry secret hashtag midway through the show. So you can type into the YouTube comments right now, and you'll be in the drawing for the prizes at the end of the show, including Tamara's prize, as well as others from our sponsors. And that hashtag is scrolling across the bottom of the screen, and it's hashtag spirit. So do it now to enter. and we will give the giveaway away at the end of the show. So that's it. You just do hashtag spirit enter in the YouTube comments and you'll be entered. Okay, also remember that this is an interactive show, so type your questions into the chat. Draken is covering the chat, and we will have that question and answer session here at the end of the interview. Tamara, can you share your insights on what it's like to be in service to people on a spiritual level? How does
Yeah,
that feel?
you know, going way back in my life, first I want to say that I'm a messy human. Like I said, I'm a messy human. I have had a long series of traumatic events happen in my life that kind of cracked me open in a way of understanding what other people might be feeling because I have experienced so much, right? And I at the time that my daughter, she developed cancer, during that time, my life kind of stopped. But before that, I had been a social worker. I had been, working in service in that way, like helping people, but not on a spiritual level. It was more just a compassionate action that employed me. So when my daughter went through her battle, at that time, just before we discovered that she had cancer, we I started leaning into my own intuition. The reason was just because I didn't trust myself, because I had been with so many horrible people and had so many horrible experiences. I didn't trust myself to make any decisions anymore. I'm like, spirit, please take the wheel, spirit, take the wheel, because I am driving this truck really in the wrong direction. And I started leaning into my intuition, and I didn't know what that even felt like or looked like. So I started leaning into it, and that sort of compassionate service part didn't come in until 10 years later. And it was after my daughter passed, and it really came in as a way because I opened my shop and I was wanting to help people with herbs and help heal their bodies. Spirit was like, well, and this, and you're going to do this. And I'm like, not me. I'm not. They're like, yeah, you're going to do tarot readings. I'm like, no, I'm going to bring someone in. No, it's you. You're going to do this. And so they started having me do this work. Now, you probably realize this because you're also in service to spirit this way. When you are in service to spirit, they will make you heal your stuff, right? They'll make you heal your stuff. They will say, okay, you need to be present for people. Your body needs to be well. Your mind needs to be well. Your heart needs to be healed. And so they brought me a lot of experiences that helped me to heal my trauma so that I could be strong for other people first. They did that first. And then I was really reluctant, because I felt like I had to be perfect if I was to be in service to spirit. And they're like, no, you fool, you're a human. You came here to be a messy human. And that's why I use that, messy human. You came here to be messy. We don't want anyone perfect. We want you just as you are. Your gifts will help people who need what you have to offer. So I kind of leaned into that. But there was a point where I realized that all the other things I was doing in my life were just a distraction from being in service to spirit. And I literally said to them, okay, you know what? I am all in. I'm all in. Show me what all in is going to be. Show me what I have to do to be all in, because I want to be fully present for the person in front of me. And I know that helping people move through their trauma, move through their pain, move through their healing. It heals me, it heals them, and that reverberates out in such gigantic force. We can't even imagine that when you help one person to heal their self, that it heals their family, right? And it heals that family's family. So I said, I'm all in. And they said, okay, well, sit down because you got to learn some things, right? And they started teaching me clairaudience. They started teaching me. They said, okay, if you're all in, we want you to do medical intuition. And I had been fighting it. They kept bringing that to me, and I was fighting it like, that's too big of a responsibility. And they said, you fool, you've already been doing it. You're a liar. We've seen you scan people and you know what's going on. And I'm like, okay, but I was just practicing. I wasn't going to actually, I'm not going to do that. And I said, no, you're the perfect person for this because you will never harm anyone. You don't have it in you. You're not going to ever intentionally try to hurt somebody. So don't worry so much about that. Sit back and we're going to teach you. So I never went to a teacher, I never went to anyone else to do this. My spirit guides are the ones that taught me medical intuition. But also during that time, I did have a mentor to help me with my mediumship, to help me hone that. That's Danielle Serenk, a Squamish medium. And so that was kind of like, I had to make some really big decisions. It changed my friend circle, changed my diet, it changed my lifestyle, it changed my sleep schedule. I had to change so many things that my life looks completely drastically different than it did a few years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you have to go through things, and then you have to give up to the muses. In my case, it's my muses that are screaming at me all the time. You need to write this song. You need to write this song. You need to do this. You need to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I try to fit it into my schedule, and it doesn't fit.
Right.
So I get it. I get about giving things up in order to make room for more spiritual work. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
totally can relate. So now, besides being an intuitive, you're also a professional level forager and medicinal plant expert. We're all curious. Tell us more
Yeah.
about that.
That really came about because of my trauma, because I had been in a place where there were times when I was nearly homeless. We didn't have insurance. I didn't have any insurance for my children. And so I thought to myself one day, like, what is something that I could bring in that would make me feel a deep level of security? And I said, you know what? People lived here before. They knew these plants. They knew this land. They knew how to provide for themselves without having to, like, have enough money to provide for themselves. And I was always a struggling single parent. So I really started leaning into learning herbs, learning herbalism. I don't even know how many years ago that was, but it was quite a while back. I started as a forager, and I would go out and I would literally spend most of my day out in on the land with the plants. And at that time, actually, the plants were calling me. I did not think that I could learn the herbalist side of it, the medicinal side of it. I thought that was kind of beyond me. It was like way too much. And I just focused on eating. Like, oh, I could eat these berries, I can use these seeds, I can use this leaf, and I could feed myself that way. Well, a few years later after that, I finally just made a commitment, like, I'm going to learn the herbal side of this because that way I can help my family. So I started learning herbalism, and I went through that for probably about 8 to 10 years just on my own learning. It's really blurry for me. I want to say it's really blurry because during that time, my daughter was also, dealing with cancer. And so the years kind of blur for me. But during that time, I started leaning into learning herbs, learning the uses of herbs, the medicinal use of herbs. And at a certain point, I decided to have a formal education. I studied with David Winston, who is a very respected herbalist here in the United States. He's one of the founding members of the American Herbalist Guild, an amazing formulator, but he works on a clinical level, meaning that he's assessing a person's wellness. He's assessing their organ systems and where there are imbalances, and bringing together the knowledge of how the herbs work together synergistically and in the body, putting together a protocol for someone individually. That's how herbalism came in for me. That's how foraging came in for me. It's a very big part of my existence, and
Clicked.
yeah. So yeah, it all kind of clicked in together, and it kind of slid into this spiritual life of mine,
Now, this picture that I just showed, is that you or your daughter?
That is me. That's actually me. I
I
had short
can't tell the
hair.
difference.
Yeah, I had short hair then. I always go, my hair's always changing. I go from short to long all the time. But during that time there was like a Dominican uh, convent, and they have land that they couldn't use, and it was just being, weedy. So they were bringing in people, and they were giving people land and saying, we're going to give you, Tamara, we're going to give you this quarter acre of land. You can come in, you can have an herb garden, you can have it there as long as you want. And so I was there, I was planting for them pollinator strips made of medicinal herbs, and then also planting my own garden there. So I love being in the dirt, I order some of my herbs, but there's such a joy, and there's so much power in an herb that you have planted, that you have watched grow,
Oh, sure.
that you have been in relationship with. So yeah, that's me in the dirt playing with my medicinal
I
plants.
love this photo. It is so cute.
He's my adventure buddy. This is my grandson. My daughter had him when she was only 16. And so we're super close, but he's always out in the dirt with me, and he really enjoys. He wanted me to say his name. His name's Skylar. So shout out to Skylar, my grandson.
Hey,
He's now
Skylar.
14. Right. He's 14 now.
Oh,
But in
he's
this
grown up.
He's grown up quite a bit. He's still out there adventuring with me in my garden, and yeah,
That
it's
is
a family
awesome.
thing.
I was actually raised on a farm in southern Missouri, and we had a huge garden. In fact, it was so large we used our tractor to till it.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
and I remember those days. I remember, planting the vegetables and harvesting and snapping the beans and pulling carrots out of the garden with the dirt on them, eating them with the dirt on, extra minerals.
extra minerals. Yeah.
We'd go to the well house and kind of wash a little bit off and still eat them, dirty, half dirty. Corn and green beans and zucchini. I mean, we had it all. We even had a briar patch with berries and
Yes.
fruit trees, peaches, apples, blah, blah, blah. We had it all.
There's nothing like going out there and like getting a sunripe warm tomato or strawberry and just like gorging yourself, right?
Vine ripe, honey, vine ripe. They're so much better, so much
Yeah.
more flavor and nutritious and better for you. Yeah. Speaking of herbs, my maternal it would be my maternal grandfather was an herb forager, and he knew a lot about herbology, and he actually was like a water witch. He did the water divining, and he was paid like to do that for people to, where should I dig my well, type of thing. And I there are stories that my aunt and uncles would tell when I was little about how they'd go out into the woods, and he'd go, you see that weed and this weed, and you mix them together and you do this with it and that, and it went in one of their ears and out the other.
That's me. Yeah, with my
So
with my people around me, they're like, "What? We don't know what you're talking about."
I think he got that knowledge from my great
Mhm.
grandfather, his father, who was an actual doctor. But
Mhm.
back then, they used herbs.
Right.
We're
Right.
talking, late 1800s, early
Yeah.
1900s. They were using herbs, and let's face it, most pharmaceutical drugs are based upon plants and the chemistry that comes from nature,
Yeah.
you
And
know.
yeah, and unfortunately, we used to be so knowledgeable. I know that my great grandmothers and my great great grandmothers, they knew to use mullein when you had a cough. They knew to use peppermint when your stomach was hurting you. They knew how to use the plants because they'd been brought up that way. And what happened was in this herbal industry, back in the day, we had pharmaceuticals start to come in. And when pharmaceuticals came in, and the medical industry started changing from like being um, more holistic, it started focusing on, you have a headache, we have a pharmaceutical for that. And I want to say some of these pharmaceuticals are actually not made by plants. They're made by like oil byproducts and stuff. Like, for
Yeah.
example, aspirin has oil byproducts in it. So they brought those in, and then they realized that free herbs are cutting into sales, and they literally made a lot of it illegal. And so
Now,
that's what cut that heritage of that lineage of passing that information down. It became something that was taboo. You couldn't do that
makes
anymore.
total sense.
It's coming back. I'm telling you what, these young people love it, and they recognize that is that it's their right to know that kind of information, and they are hungry for it.
Yes. I am, as a child, I was taught about plantain and how if you got, a cut, you would grab the plantain leaf and smash it up, maybe even chew it a little bit and then put it on and it would stop the bleeding. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to do that when I'd scrape my knee or whatever when I was little, because my dad taught me that. But I tried the last time I was at home in Missouri, I dug up some and I tried to bring it back to Florida. Florida hot sun is just too much for it. It didn't survive, unfortunately.
There's got to be probably a variety that grows there that you're not recognizing, because there's some that have like really skinny leaves,
It's
and
just
you
not in my
mostly
yard.
recognize, right? That's one of the first ones that my grandson learned to, and he knows to go out there and chew up his leaf and put it on his mosquito bites, or his nettle stings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just moved. You mentioned that you just moved your shop to a new location with more traffic. So what are you working on now with this increased traffic?
Well, I'm still still doing part of the construction worker part of my job. I've been decorating, and like I'm making a tree trunk inside of the shop of shagbark. So
Ooh,
shagbark hickory. I'm making this post into a big tree trunk. I'm putting moss and vines everywhere. But I've been doing my readings,
love
and
it.
we're shifting. The store that I had before didn't have a commercial kitchen. And where I am, they said that if I wanted to teach herbs and people could touch them, I had to have a commercial kitchen. If I wanted to be able for people to buy bulk herbs, I had to have a commercial kitchen. So I was running back and forth between a rented kitchen and having to get
Oh,
staff to
that's a
pack
lot of.
all of my line of teas. I've got a line of 15 different teas that are good for different maladies. I would have to grab the crew, take them over, pack for like a whole year. Talk about tedious. It was
It's a
hard.
lot of work.
It was really hard. So Spirit told me, you know what, my spirit team, they were like, you're gonna be moving this year. And I'd been waiting for 3 years, like for something to come up, because where I am, it's really hard to get a spot on the strip. It's a tourist town, right? So
Oh,
there's
okay.
one strip where everything is, and everyone walks this strip. I was waiting, and they kept telling me it's coming, and I'm like, I don't believe it. I don't. Okay, I'll believe it when I see it. And finally, they told me the timeline. They said, you're going to find out in October. So as October started to come around, my mentor, actually, Danielle, she's like, I want to have a reading with you. And then she told me, I feel like you're going to be moving soon, and you're going to find the spot, and it's a tea shop, and you walk past it, and it's a real open space, and you're going to have to partition it off, and you're going to find out within a couple of weeks. Boom, it just started happening. So I found the perfect spot that opened. It wasn't even a place that I had dibs on. The absolute perfect spot opened for me, with a commercial kitchen already in the back.
It's amazing.
And it's a small shop. We had to build this room that I'm in. It's not even finished, but we had to build this room that I'm in for my readings. And then the front part is retail. We do have probably 3 times the traffic now. And when
Wow.
you are a brick and mortar, other people out there, brick and mortar is hard. Like, to have a physical store these days is hard, because people order a lot of things online. Now,
Mm-hmm.
when you're in a tourist town, it's a little different, because people are coming here to shop, right? So the spot where I knew it was a spot where I would be so that I would grow. And I knew that, and I didn't even pay myself for 2.5 years. I just sat there and tried to like grow my business. And so my opportunity finally came. Now I can teach hands-on herbalism. I can also do herbal protocols for people. They can come in, they can have an assessment, and I can actually put together a custom protocol for them that works for their lifestyle too. Because let's be real, like, who's going to sit there and boil herbs like all day long? No, like, they might need something else, but I'm capable of doing that here. And so it's going to expand my herbal products and my service, my herbal service. So now actually the mediumship and the herbalism is merging even stronger. Where now when I do my medical intuition scans, then first I do that part without knowing anything about a person. And then I shift over to, now let's do this assessment. Are you on any medications, that would interfere? And I think I go into that sort of detail, and then I'm able to put together a custom protocol for people. So
Nice.
that's what's coming, that's what's different about this space.
Nice. Well, man, if I lived near you, I would be coming in to learn from you. That's for sure.
I love teaching. Like, talk about putting the power. Like, you want to empower people to be able to do this themselves. And that's where it's
Yeah.
at. Like, teach them how to do it.
So also you had mentioned that you're going on a Canadian spiritual retreat.
Yeah, that's coming up. It's going to be in June. And the thing about that, what's really fun about that is, well, my mentor Danielle Sarank, she lives in Squamish, and it's actually in it's in Vancouver area, right? It's called Maple Glen or Maple Hills, something like that. Maple Ridge, Maple Ridge. There's this beautiful place there with a lake with loons on it, and you wake up hearing the loons. It's just a magical sort of experience. But even more so is that when you are an herbal, or when you're an intuitive person, when you are a medium, it's a very isolating career because almost no one speaks your language, almost no one lives your lifestyle. So it's really nice to get together with a whole bunch of mediums and to be able to talk the same language and have the same experiences, have the same lifestyle. It's going to be really great. It's coming up in the end of June, so I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
That's cool. Um, you know, pagan gatherings, same thing.
Mhm.
Usually when I go to a pagan gathering, nobody wants to go home. When it's time
Yeah.
to close it down because we have to go back to mundaniality.
Right. You have to
You
shift
have
how
to
you
shift.
operate.
You have to
Yeah.
put your masks back on, basically,
Yes. Yes.
instead of just being open, right?
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I love your tattoos. I think they're gorgeous. Tell us about one or two of your favorite ones and how they came about.
Well, this one right here, this is a giant sequoia.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, I am from California and I grew up where the giant sequoias grow. So to me, they're just a symbol. Like, I thought if I were to be any plant, I would want to be a giant sequoia because the giant sequoia, first of all, they're resilient as hell. I know I'm
Okay.
cussing. I've got lots of bad language, but they are very resilient. They will go through fires and they'll survive. Drought, they'll survive. Like crazy ice storms, snowstorms, they'll survive. And they grow their roots together. And when the wind comes, they literally hold each other up. And they're huge. They're freaking mountains. They're so strong. They feel like a mountain on their own. Like
Mm-hmm.
you could make a house. You could make a house inside the trunk of one that had like 3 bedrooms. They're
Mm-hmm.
giant. But also they serve as a community space. They have so many other organisms living with them, on them, in them.
Sure.
And they have their all the little critters that live there. So like that's why the giant sequoia, it was like a spiritual symbol for me. I've also got this passion flower vine, and I know they grow in the south. I don't know if they grow where you live, but maypops, they call them maypops. They're absolutely gorgeous. It is a native plant in our area, but it's one that helps people release trauma. It's a very like heart opening, heart protective sort of herb. And I've got them growing in my shop, and I moved them in because they would die in the winter and not grow back. We're just right outside of the boundary for them. And so they wouldn't grow back. And so I moved them inside and they started taking over. And so they grow in the windows of my shop and they flower all
That's
all
awesome.
summer long into the fall. So I've got those. I've got wild seed. wild seed, which is just wild means I can't be tamed, and a seed has so much freaking potential, right? So untamable potential, right? So yeah, those are a few of my
So
favorites.
you're even covered in plant tattoos.
I am. I'm covered in plants.
You've had
Yeah.
such a fascinating spiritual journey, and I know our viewers would love hearing about those moments even more. But rumor has it that you've had one of those definitive moments when you first experienced and danced the spiral dance and experienced the cone of power for your first time.
Yeah, that was when I was just first leaning into my intuition. And I'm an odd bird anyway, so I'm always kind of like not where the groups of people are. I'm just out on the periphery. But I went to this music festival, which happens in Wisconsin, or I mean, I'm sorry, Minnesota. And I knew that there was going to be this spiral dance, but I kind of heard about them before, but I'd never participated in one. And sure enough, here it is. It's the solstice, summer solstice, and all of a sudden you hear the music, you start seeing the long chains of people. And it's called Oak Park, where it happens, Oak Park. And there's these giant oak trees, and these people they're just winding in and out, and they're passing each other because the chain is so long, of people just moving to the music and holding on to each other. And then I'm like, okay, I'm in. So I jump in this chain of people. We're doing our thing, and we start making this spiral. And in the middle, we've got Nako Bear, who's a magician or musician, and he's playing I believe in the good things coming. I believe in the good things coming, coming, coming. And that song was just really, I deeply felt that song for a while before that, and it was just so perfect. So here's this, everyone's winding around, and we get just deeper and deeper and deeper. There's so many layers, and we're just bodies sweaty, pressed up against each other, and all of a sudden we're all just like chanting and we're singing, and it was just such an electric high intensity that you just felt everyone there. They were part of your heart, they were part of your soul. And then,
Entrainment.
yes, it was just right. Then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, we burst out into just wild dance to drums, and everyone was just dancing. Talk about, it was powerful. And I just, like I said, I'm usually a solitaire person, but I see how intense power can be when you come together.
I'm getting goosebumps just listening to you because
Yeah,
I've
it
been
was,
there,
yeah,
and
yeah.
oh, that's wonderful memory.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful memory. Yeah, I love when we have guests come to our Sabbat rituals, to celebrate the seasons of the year. And we do the cone of power as a coven, and it's their first time. And they just have this look of, oh my God, like exhilaration. It's not
Mm-hmm.
scary, it's exhilarating and joyous and empowering
Yeah.
experience. And that kind of clinches it for people, that, oh wow, this is real.
To be able to physically feel it,
They
right?
feel the energy. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they feel the energy. That's exactly it. But
Yeah.
you had it with a big group of people, it sounds
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
that's
crazy.
amazing. Yeah.
It was. People come into this room, actually. I do my readings here, and they will come in and they'll sit down and they'll instantly feel like tears. They'll feel that energy of spirit. And you can just tell who's a little more sensitive to it and who's not. And I'll have to explain to them, well, it's because I do my readings in here. You're feeling spirit. Spirit kind of opens you up, and you feel really
Mhm.
that the big sort of electricity of spirit. So yeah, it's kind of something that happens even within this little room, that gathering
Sure.
together and communicating with
Absolutely.
spirit.
Absolutely. Yeah. Our we joke about it, but it's true. Our temple room is actually quite small.
Mm-hmm.
And the coven is so big now, we don't all, if everybody is there at the same time, we don't fit. So we
Wow.
have to actually set up in our living room. So our living room has that feeling now too. It's been zapped and charged so many times. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, anywho. All right, everyone. If you have any questions, this is the time to type them into chat. Draken is monitoring the questions. Tamara, where's the best place for people to find you online?
Well, you can definitely find me on Instagram and Facebook. Instagram and Facebook. I'm a little bit on Threads, not so much. But also my website is enchantedherbshop.com. And you can go on enchantedherbshop.com. Not only can you book a reading with me, there's several different kinds of readings that you can book, but you can also purchase my teas online on my website. And pretty soon I'll have a few more products on there to sell. And that's the best way to get a hold of me, is to schedule an appointment there or contact me through my website. Or you can call me and leave a message. I don't answer it because of all the spam calls, but if you leave me a message, I will definitely get back to you.
I love this quote. I have to read it out loud. I was not gently placed on this path. I crawled through adversity, scraping my knees on the grit of trauma, a journey that instilled in my heart a deep compassion for the struggle and pain, for your struggle and pain, I should say. And that's your quote.
Yeah, that brings tears to my eyes, actually,
I love
because
it.
I really
Beautiful.
I am just so in service to helping you, like I want to help people not have to endure those things forever.
Yeah.
We can be very powerful agents of change in our own lives if we just have a little support.
Yeah. In Wicca, we have a saying, you must suffer to learn. And it's so true, the deepest spiritual lessons come from experiencing life, not only all the joy, but all the pain. And it
Mm-hmm.
helps you heal yourself, and
Yeah.
it helps you heal others.
Yeah.
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 So you have a beautiful shop. Here is your daughter.
Yeah, right in the
Yeah.
middle of her cancer journey. At that point, she had been through an operation where they removed a large, like grapefruit-sized tumor on her bones in her ribs.
Mm.
And she had been through that journey of trauma with me the entire time. Like I said, I had her when she was 19. At this point, she's probably about 21. And we had such a close relationship on this earth, and she was the person who taught me the most in my life, because she would point out to me where I wasn't taking care of myself. She would point out to me where we needed to make changes because things weren't feeling okay. And it was almost like giving me permission to do things that other people might tell me not to do, to leave an abusive partner where they were like, well, you're married, so you have to stay. You know what I mean? My daughter was like, no, let's go, Mom. We can get through this. She was so wise from a very young age. And there was just something different about her. Like from birth, I just felt actually like this is going to be a wild, amazing ride. And I felt like she could go at any time. I felt that. So we were super close. And in her dying, what she did was she knew she was dying. So she made sure to focus on everyone else's need to have great memories with her. But also, she was an advocate for her own wellness. And you know that song like Anxiety? I don't have to sacrifice my happiness for anybody. I don't have to try to make sure everybody else is happy, right? She embodied that. I don't have to sacrifice my happiness for anyone, and I don't have to make everyone else happy. And I learned that through her, and that really was a catalyst for drastic change in my life. So before she passed, I had just had so many bad relationships and found myself in places I didn't really want to be, trying to wear the mask that everyone needed me to wear. And then during her battle, she taught me to take the mask off and take care of myself, and to tell people no, and to kick people out of my life that didn't make me feel good. And now that she passed, she's one of my guides. She's still telling me these things. She's still bringing me these lessons. She is my biggest cheerleader, and she's in spirit. But from the point that she passed for a reason, and I knew, we knew that she was leaving because she had big work to do. I didn't know what that meant, but we knew that there was some big work that she had to do. Well, now in the spirit realm, she's able to help me help other people. And she's able to help me heal myself. My life changed drastically from literally being like living in poverty and suffering through abuse and suffering through the people around me. Like even as a child, I had a really unstable, insecure environment around me with drug abuse going on. And so that all of a sudden I met the right people. I met my husband, my life, my life changed within that journey that she was going through. And now, like, my life is good. My life is golden. My life is so good that I'm capable of having the energy and time to help other people, have that kind of life too. And I just wish it for everyone, because so many people come in here and they're struggling. They're really dealing with like not understanding their own, like the priority of their own wellness. They put that off so they can serve everyone else. And yeah, she just taught me so many things that revolutionarily changed my existence on this planet. So like now I look back and some people think, oh, wow. When you tell people that your daughter passed from cancer, it's like punching them in the gut. And they're like, oh, wait. And you have to like live through their emotional sort of gut punch. And they don't understand how you could be standing there laughing and happy and joyful. But the thing is, I'm joyful because I got that time with that amazing human being in my life, and that she's not gone, that she will never be gone, and our
That's right.
existence together will never end. We will always be connected. We are all connected. So I am grateful that I was able to love someone so much that it hurt that deeply, that it transformed me that deeply, that I could have had that powerful love in my life. I'm grateful. So yeah, it was quite a journey, and I'm grateful for it.
Wow. 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 All right. Let's bring on Draken. I have to click the right button. I'm so emotionally like involved here.
Yeah.
I have to push buttons now. So do we have any questions from our viewers?
Do we ever?
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, first of all, I got a comment. This goes back to much earlier on when you were talking about people will come in and say, I have a weird question. Becca said, I answer with, I might have a weird answer.
I love
And
that.
I thought, that is perfect.
That's great. I love it. I'm going to try that out.
So now, Carrie, who's from Kansas, this is a quick question for you, Alexian. She wants to know, do you journal your dreams? I could have answered for you, but I didn't.
I used to. But now if it's a pertinent dream, I actually have my cell phone next to my bed and I'll record instead, like mumble into my phone. Because I do a lot of songwriting in my dreams, and you can't write down a melody that easily, but you can hum it, right? So I tend to use my phone more than actually writing.
Excellent. So Sandra wants to know, do you have an herbarium? Herbarium? Is that how you say it?
Herbarium.
Yeah.
A collection of pressed herbs with
right.
their
That's what I'm understanding an herbarium to be. That right. No, but my husband does, because he's a plant biologist. He's a conservation biologist, so he actually has a herbarium. And he's got the presses. And in fact, I often come downstairs to my office space in my home, and I'll find him dissecting plants in my lights and on my desk. And I'm like, what are you doing? Why do you? He's like, I've got this orchid. I'm dissecting this orchid, or something. So I don't specifically do pressed plants. No.
Okay.
We've got them
Um,
in our house.
yeah, but
So,
you have it available. So Carrie is asking, she said, Tamara, how do you do a medical scan? Does this involve Reiki?
it's so weird. Everyone is always asking me in reference to another system, but I
Mhm.
didn't learn from anyone except for my spirit guides. So I don't really have that thing to kind of like weigh it against. I
Right.
understand Reiki. I have a lot of friends who do Reiki. In fact, every time I have asked my guides, should I learn Reiki, they say absolutely not, because they're teaching me. They say, no, we're teaching you. So the
Mhm.
way that I do scans is all of my clairs are active. I am seeing, I am hearing, I am feeling, I am, thoughts are dropping in. All of those things are coming in. But I start from the top of their head, and the first thing that kind of comes in is how they think, their thought patterns. I will discover there if they have like anxious thoughts or repetitive thinking or the obsessive thinking, or if they are having trouble remembering things. Those kinds of things will come in. I'll move to their sensory organs, and scan those, and I'll pick up like if they have congestion or they're having hearing problems. So I move down the body, and as I'm moving down, my spirit guides are dropping this information in, and I'm telling the person in front of me, and then I have them take copious notes. This is what she's telling me this, she's telling me that. It serves a few purposes. They're integrating that information,
Mhm.
and then we go back through the notes later for clarification so that we can ask any questions of anything we miss. I go through all of the organ systems, including the skin, the nerves, all of the different body parts. And then also stuff that comes in will be information about their diet, their sleep habits, people in their life that are causing them maybe some stress. All of this stuff comes in, and then it takes about 40 minutes. I do that whole thing. I come back to my client, we go over their notes, we get any clarification. Other things that are dropped into me are like deficiencies of vitamins or minerals, plants that are, I mean, foods that they're eating that might be they might have an intolerance to or an allergy to that are causing problems for them. That's the kind of information that's coming in now. It tends to be pretty detailed. And I don't know of any teachers that teach in that way. It's more like I feel an energy here. This color means you have inflammation. It's a little different from what I do. Yeah.
Okay. That's so interesting.
Draken, don't forget you can click to display their question.
Oh, yeah, that's probably a good idea. Sorry. So this is a Sandra. Do you get to a point that you can only do so much health-wise for a person and refer them to see their physician?
Absolutely. Actually, I just recently did one where it was very clear that something was going on that was beyond our ability to do anything. And this does come with a side of healing. Like spirit tells me that just in doing the scan, there's a little bit of healing that goes on. But I moved to an herbal protocol, and one of my biggest responsibilities as a wellness practitioner, especially when it comes to herbs, is that if it's beyond my capacity, I need to say it's beyond my capacity. And I
Yeah.
need to say, you need to talk to your doctor about this. And so in fact, there was a problem going on where their legs were going numb, and I could tell they had nerve problems. And, so I knew that it could be something that they needed a scan for. They needed like an MRI or something. So in that case, I'll say, spirit will actually tell me, my guide will tell me, my main guide, he'll say they need to go to their doctor. They need this and this and that test. He'll tell
Yeah.
them. He'll tell me what tests they need. So, yes, that's a big responsibility. And
Yeah, that would be scary.
yeah, there are people out there that they are practicing these things, and they don't really realize that you have a responsibility to say, this is beyond my abilities, and
Yeah.
that you have to be careful about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Good answer. I just got a couple more here. Um, so I think this would be Aonos. I'm not positive, but I'd like to know more about the medium gathering. Where would they
Well,
find information?
yeah, squamishmedium.com. She has a group that is online. It is off of a social platform. It's her own platform. And there's a lot of people who are at a beginning level of mediumship or beyond, advanced mediumship. But she teaches there, and there are a lot of other teachers there. There's like a subscription that you can get into, but there's also a free side. So within that, she's got 2 retreats. One is coming up in October. The June one, I believe, is sold out. They do sell out pretty quickly. The June, she just added the October one, but there's an October one coming up too. So you could check into that one.
Okay. And I'm sorry, did you say there's a website or?
Squamishmedium.com, and that's SQUAMISH, squamishmedium.com. And her name is Danielle Serenk.
Okay, I'm putting that in the chat. So, all right, we have a last question is from Sandra. If someone were interested in foraging for plants and drying them for useful purposes, what book would you recommend?
It depends on where you're at. Like there's different plants in different parts of the world. And for my region, Sam Thayer, he's got a great book that he's there's like a revised copy now, but can't think of the name of it, but his name is Sam Thayer, Thayer. And I live in what's called the Driftless region. It is it's like a tri-state, Wisconsin, Iowa, Illinois, on the Mississippi area.
Mm-hmm.
So our plants that we have here might not be the ones that you have in your environment. I would say look for field guides that are specific to your own environment, especially ones that will tell you which plants are poisonous. And, you do want to make sure that when you're first going out and you're first learning foraging, don't just take home a bunch of plants. You want to just kind of get to know the plant first. Like, what does it look like? Is this really what it is? You want to be respectful, because the one thing that most beginning foragers do is they take way too much of a plant. And then you feel bad later, because you can't use that. So yeah, that's what I would suggest is a local regional field guide.
Okay, that's good. That's good information. All right, well that's it for the questions. So
All right, everyone who's watching, have you clicked that karma button yet? Give that like button a high five and subscribe and tap the bell for a better chance at winning the Arcane Treasures, which is coming right up. Don't go away. We'll be right back and have a little bit of fun with Tamara after this sponsor break.
It's fine.
Are you ready to elevate your brand and connect with a dynamic and growing community? We invite pagan-minded businesses and services to sponsor our live YouTube show, where your brand can shine. Visit alexianmusic.com/sponsor to explore this exciting opportunity. Imagine your logo taking center stage, just like our other esteemed sponsors. Join us in celebrating our shared passions and reach a dedicated audience. We can't wait to welcome you on board. Our sponsors for today's show are... Have you heard of paganmusic.com? It's a site run by Alexian and his husband Victor, who have been championing pagan music for over 30 years. They founded Earth Tone Studios in 1993 and took their support online in 1997 at paganmusic.com. They're now liquidating their stock, and some items have turned into rare collector's pieces. After the liquidation, they plan to evolve paganmusic.com into a resource hub, continuing their dedication to all pagan recording artists. Today, paganmusic.com is excited to donate a $25 cart checkout coupon for the Arcane Treasures giveaway at the end of the show. We hope it brings the winner some joyous pagan shopping. Today's show is also proudly sponsored by Alexian's official website as pagan recording artist, alexianmusic.com, where you can explore a world of pagan music and artistry. At alexianmusic.com, you'll discover a treasure trove of resources, including music recordings, online courses, as well as the Cool Cats community. Join him for bonfire bardic circles, magical spells, recipes, rituals, daily tarot videos, spiritual discussions, pentacle parties, songwriting classes, book swaps, meditations, and so much more. Be part of the fun and enrich your spiritual journey. Today, Alexian is offering a complimentary Rooted Kitten ongoing membership to the Coven of Cool Cats in the giveaway. This $4 per month membership grants you access to his vibrant and growing community. Alexian is also including a limited edition Alexian Show fridge magnet up for grabs during the Arcane Treasures giveaway at the end of the show. Don't miss your chance to snag this unique collectible and be part of the Alexian adventure. Our sponsors funded today's show, covering equipment, streaming software, and staff. Please support them as they support us. And now let's get back to the show.
Okay, it's time to have a little fun with our rapid fire questions. These are silly questions that there's no way for you to prepare for. I'm bringing, whoops, that's the wrong.
That's okay. Hi. She's great.
This is what we want. Okay, question 1. What's the weirdest food combination you've ever tried and actually enjoyed? What's the weirdest food combination you've ever tried and actually enjoyed? Okay, question 2. If you could have a conversation with your younger self, what advice would you give yourself at a young age? If you could have a conversation with your younger self, what advice would you give you? And the last question, what's a fun fact about you that most people don't even know? What's a fun fact about you that most people don't even know? Okay, time's up.
These are
Mara,
so
what's
hard
the
for me.
weirdest food combination you've ever tried and actually enjoyed?
Oh my gosh. I'm gonna tell you, like, I can't even think of something because I am so open to eat almost anything. Like, I've eaten everything. I have a very diverse, like, palate, and so I can't think of anything that would be weird to me, but I'll tell
Your
you the
hus-
weirdest thing I've ever eaten.
My husband and you would get along perfectly because he eats everything too.
Yeah. The weirdest thing I've ever eaten was, the book How to Eat Fried Worms. Well, sure enough, yeah, it's a children's book, and I was a child, and me and my friends, we kind of fried up some worms and we ate them. Tastes like bacon.
Tastes like bacon. Oh my God, that just slayed me.
Serious. I don't know what I was thinking, but
Worms
yeah.
taste like bacon. Well, now we know. Now we're going to be
Yeah,
wrapping
yeah.
everything in worms.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, number 2. If you could have a conversation with your younger self, what advice would you give you?
I would say, stay away from people who make you feel like you can't be real, that you can't be your real self, people who want to suppress who you are. Yeah.
Amazing advice. Amazing advice. As they say nowadays, you do you.
Right.
You be you, right?
Yeah. And what I really wanted to say was stay away from the a-holes, but that's like too short and sweet. So
I hear you.
it's too
All
broad.
right. And number 3, what's a fun fact that is about you that most people don't know?
Well, I'm also actually a performing artist. I was a belly dancer for many years, and so I have been a choreographer, also a set designer, and lots of fun there.
There is actually, well, I know there used to be a belly dancing convention here in Orlando, Florida. And Victor and I actually took our store, paganmusic.com, to it and learned so much about belly dancing. And I can honestly say there was one belly dancer who made me blush. And I don't blush about anything. I don't blush about anything, right?
Wow.
This
Yeah.
lady, Dawn, she was performing for for the room, but she looked straight at me and she was dancing straight at
Right.
me, and I just went red. And I don't blush, so she got to me. She got to me. But the girls used to love us, and the guys used to love us because we bring in all of the belly dancing CD soundtracks at regular
Mm-hmm.
prices, and
Yeah.
they would just devour our booth.
Yeah.
People, other stores were marking them up 2, 3, 4 times, and we were just marking them up 40%.
Wow.
Regular
Yeah.
retail
Yeah.
wholesale prices. So
We're always looking for great music, always looking for new music, something different, And yeah, that interaction is so critical. It's like part of it, part of the heart of belly dance would be the interaction that you're dancing for the people in front of you rather than just performing to look cool. So
energy.
yeah, the energy is really powerful there, and it is a very like intoxicating, mentally intoxicating kind of vibe to it's a spiritual sort of pulling in.
She just wants to come back again.
She does, she's like that, honestly,
So
she really is.
I didn't mean to bring her back so quickly. I hit the
No,
wrong
she's
button, but
great.
there she is again. So we're all curious
That's
to
part of
know,
her
this was the
strength right there,
teaser. You kind of already answered this question, but how did the death of someone so precious as your daughter change your life for the positive?
Yeah, I mean, I did kind of answer this. It's really that,
Yeah, you did.
she taught me so much, and how like sometimes when we lose someone, we feel like, wow, now our life is terrible because that person is not in it anymore. And instead, I kind of had this realization that, wow, like look at how lucky I am. Look at how lucky I am that I had that kind of relationship, that I had that kind of love, that I had that just those deep lessons from someone who was so wise at such a young age. And she really transformed who I am and how I protect myself and how I carry myself, how I treat myself, and who I allow into my life. So those things really transformed my life, where I had so much strife before. I was able to step away from the people that would cause those things, step away from the situations that would cause that kind of energy, and now I have this really wonderful life full of great people. I have excellent boundaries because of her. you know,
And
I
she's still
learned
with
these
you.
things. And she's with me, and she like, she keeps popping up her picture. Like she's constantly in my ear, constantly. She's giving me ideas of how to decorate my space and telling me, which friends I need to give kick to the curb. And she's always got advice for me. So she's always with me.
She's like, yeah, no.
Yeah, she does. She's like, that friend? No, that's a no, mom.
That's a no. All right, guys. The moment you've been waiting for has finally arrived. I'm bringing Draken back on. It's time for the Arcane Treasures giveaway drawing. This is your last chance to type #spirit into the YouTube comments to enter. And but before we draw, also remember, it's your last chance to get those karma points. Spank that like button, subscribe, and poke the bell. You've got 1 minute to type in #spirit into the YouTube comments. Draken, remind our viewers what they're going to win.
So someone is about to win a free 20-minute spirit guide tarot reading via Zoom from Tamara Ambroz. The $25 coupon for some joyous shopping at paganism.com. Free ongoing membership to Alexian Pets Community. And an Alexian Show limited edition fridge bag. Enter to win just by typing #spirit YouTube channel.
All right, we got 30 seconds. Oh, the entries are going up. This is good. This is good. We're getting people to enter.
During my tarot reading, we're going to have a conversation with all of the guides that I actually talked about today. They come in and they give you messages during my tarot readings. So that's the spirit guide part.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Okay, here we go. Are you ready? Let's see if I can figure out how to do this. Share screen and boom. And it's not working. Hold on. I can do this. I can do this. I know I can do this. Remove other media. There we go.
There. Yeah.
Like that. Ha Got to get the right button combination. I swear I'll get this down eventually one year. All right. I'm going to click it. Here we go.
There we go.
Carrie! Carrie is the winner!
That's exciting.
To Carrie for winning the Arcane Treasures giveaway. Please email me directly at lordalexian@gmail.com to claim your treasures. If you haven't seen our previous episodes, they're available for replay, so check them out.
Yep.
I want to express a heartfelt thank you to both my guests and sponsors today, Tamara. Thank you so much for joining us and making this show special. Draken and I will be back next month with the one and only witch and spiritual leader, Selena Fox.
Oh,
have a wonderful, fabulous day, and we'll see you next month. Boss blessings.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye,
everybody.
guys.